job I ever applied to, and I kind of applied to it, was my first job. Every single other job I got was because of relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Someone who was my champion when I wasn't even in the room.
Right.
And that person said, I know someone. And the only reason why they know someone, they knew me, is because I stayed in touch with them.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I think that being able to build a relationship is a soft skill
Absolutely.
that successful people have. And it doesn't really, whether it's Obama or whoever, you see that relationship building as part of their success.
So this guy from Simon Schuster, he's just telling me about himself. He's a very famous journalist. He's telling me about himself, and then he says something about his uncle, and he kind of just passes over it. The next conversation, I said, you know, like what you said about your uncle, da, da, da. He literally stopped. He said, you heard what I said? I was like, yeah, you said this about your uncle, da, 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 da. He was like, Purvis, he said, you have no idea how much this is changing, like our whole interview process, because you heard me. He said, I've interviewed celebrities after celebrities, and they're just kind of like just there to be interviewed, and then they move on.
Right.
And you interview them again, excuse me, and they act like they don't know who you are. I was like, no, my job is to be an active listener.
Right.
As a life coach, I have to be an active listener.
Yeah.
So like something like that, I don't know if it's necessarily can be taught. I think certain soft skills are just inherent to that person, and they just know how to tap into it. We all have superpowers, right?
Right.
But everybody's superpowers look different.
Right.
It's about how you tap into yours that's going to benefit you, because everybody may not be the best active listener. You know what I mean? But people may have some people may be the better hand.
No, I get that.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So it's
yeah.
like, I don't know.
I think even if you're not the best active listener,
Yeah.
You can learn to be better. And I
Yeah.
think, in
True.
life
Yeah.
you can learn, you can balance out your weaknesses just enough so that you don't actually counter your strengths.
Yeah.
With soft skills, I would say in our society, we live in a rough society. Our school system, for example, we emphasize STEM, which is great, but because we don't emphasize, for example,
Emotional
anymore the
Social
arts or
emotional
emotional intelligence, and the way we teach to only one learning style, we miss an opportunity to teach young people soft skills.
How to develop that.
How to develop those
Absolutely.
soft skills. But I
Absolutely.
actually do think you can. I think it's we don't learn it in a traditional way. I think it's hard to read a book that says here's how to tap into your instinct. One of the most profound ways that I learned to tap into mine was actually through salsa dancing. I told you I started in ballet. Ballet is all about control. Salsa, especially as a
Freedom.
woman,
It's about
was
freedom.
completely about letting go. You know the steps, you practice the steps, you get the steps, you know the turn patterns, but when it comes time to dance, I completely have to let go and be in this moment, or else it's literally going to be a traffic jam between my partner and I. And when I realized that I could apply that instinct that I have when I'm dancing to be able to feel the step that my partner is leading to life, that's how I got instinct. So I understood what instinct was based on what the text was, but I had to experience it. So I think lifestyle and shifts in lifestyle is how we probably more so learn those soft skills versus the traditional way, my opinion.
Right, and I think culturally, we learn, especially the spaces that we navigate, and the schools you may have gone to, you learn how to read a room.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
so those are
Absolutely.
things that our white counterparts, the pressure may not be on them in the way that it's on us. To go in a room and learn, okay, who do I need to disarm? Who do I need to convince that I have a right to be here? Who do I have to try to find commonality with, even though we have nothing in common?
Yeah.
101%.
So all these things are playing in your mind, and for those of us who grew up in these programs, these high achiever programs, the things to expose you to different communities and different elements of business or academia, you learn very early what you have to do to show that you deserve a seat at the table. So I think we're groomed in a way that others may not be, because we have to be to achieve and be seen as accepted and worthy of being in these folks' presence.
But maybe the ultimate soft skill,
That was the-
skill might be knowing your worth.
Let's not go down a
Right,
rabbit hole.
that's how
Let's not go down a rabbit hole. Let's let it go.
Right.
That was that I know side. I work at this point, and so
And now,
I
yes.
no longer try to do that anymore. I no longer try
Because
to
I-
disarm, because I'm not ashamed of who I am.
Right.
And I'm not ashamed of the gifting that I am.
But
You know what I
it
mean?
takes time to get
Right.
It takes time to
Takes a
get
lot
there.
of time.
That's a journey.
It is a journey.
That's a
I would
journey.
agree with that.
For sure. But I do agree that social emotional learning, and we've had a couple of people come on the show to talk about that, needs to be taught in more formal environments and earlier, because you have situations where younger people are put in environments where they have a right to be angry. But when they lash out, it's, well, what's wrong with you?
Right.
And they're not giving an opportunity to be trained in how to respond.
To advocate for themselves.
Yes.
Right. It's because they're treated as children when it's like, it's kind of like I'm reading this book called The Celestine Prophecy. And it talks about like the woman, and there's an example in the book where someone's like, well, how old is your daughter? And she's like, no, don't talk about my daughter as if she's not in the room. If she was an adult, you would ask her how old she was directly. So talk to her directly. And it's those little moments like that that are so pivotal in just understanding how we're supposed to behave and interact with children, because a lot of the control dramas that we have as individuals, the way you act out, the way you even now are all basically just remnants of how you behaved when you were a child. So whether it's like you were an intimidator, or whether you were the poor me syndrome, like different mentalities that naturally insert themselves in how we interact with everyday people are just all control dramas from when we were children.
Absolutely. In the way that our teachers, because there's so much bias in education and so much underrepresentation, especially with educators, in the way that teachers approach children of color. You know, if a young, maybe gifted black child, especially a black boy, has a lot of energy and maybe gets what you're trying to teach them in the first grade, so they're bored. But that person is probably likely, instead of to be classified as precocious or bright, or maybe we need to challenge this child more, then it's maybe something is wrong with him. Let's send him home. Let's penalize him.
And they describe ADHD.
Yes, and even for me, I've always asked a lot of questions, and I've always been pretty precocious. And I remember there were teachers that would tell my parents, "Oh, I think she's arrogant." I've never been arrogant a day.
Oh my God!
But it was just that I was confident. And my father, this was different from most black households. My father had this thing where Aisha was allowed to talk back. And it wasn't like I was allowed to sass.
You're in a minority. Yes.
That's why I was like, that's why she
I wasn't allowed to like sass or disrespect my parents. Like to this point,
you were allowed to ask questions. You were allowed to question things.
I could question things.
Yeah.
I could say, I don't think that's fair. I could say like, wait, no, I didn't do that. Or, and the reason he said that was because he didn't want to raise a child, especially a black woman, that would not know how to question authority or question the things that was happening.
Absolutely.
And so I was able to go to school, and I was able to see, like, this teacher is not treating me fairly. I was able to advocate. There's a difference between how she's treating these kids who don't look like me. I thought their skin was pink when I was really young. And the brown people or the pink people, like, I get it.